Okay, so this session is going to be the advanced tool. So let me just tell you what's coming. So this session will be about the advanced tool, maybe a little bit about, we'll repeat a little bit of what we did because probably confusing after the first time. And then we will also focus a little bit on the type of templates that you guys are interested in, maybe go a little bit in depth into them. And by the end, we'll finish with that. And then next time, we're going to focus on project management. As I explained to the other teachers and to Sana, it's absolutely important to for a teacher to understand how to manage the projects. We are not project managers, we are teachers. So basically, you know, you guys are trained as teachers, not as project managers. And it's and when you do project-based learning, this is one of the most important skills because your students are working in teams and, you know, not everybody is doing everything. We are used to assigning questions to students and then all students answer all those questions. But in this case, it's not what's happening. In a team project, the work needs to be divided between the team members and there needs to be somebody who's going to manage this whole thing, and you will be the one. Not to mention that you will have to actually explain to the students how to manage themselves as well. So you definitely need to understand how to manage projects. So let me, without further ado, let me just share the screen. Okay. So let me just go to one of the projects in the catalog. And because we are starting to discuss our advanced tools, and let me go to the lesson plans and let me go to here. No, sorry, not here. I'm going to open Design the City of Your Dreams. Now, even if this is not a project that you are considering for a grade level, but I think that this is a great project for understanding the more advanced tools. So let me just go here. So basically what this project is about is that students are working on designing a city of whatever they are dreaming of. But before they design that city, they actually have to understand a little bit about you know, the difference between city living and rural living, between understanding the history of their city, and then they will start designing whatever city they dream of. And in this case, they don't necessarily, although it says here that you should use one of these softwares to design your city, you actually can draw it with pencil and paper and then just take a photo of it and upload it. And again, it doesn't mean that your grade levels can do this, but this is a good way to understand what these tools can do. And you know what, actually, there is even a better one that I can show you that's going to be actually their level. Let me just shift for a minute. Project catalog, and we'll go to lesson plans, and we are going to go to here. And here it is. A comparison of shapes. So this one is actually, you know, at least in our fourth grade, students are learning about shapes. And that this whole project starts with just questions about shape. What is a polygon? How many sides does the square have? And students are adding here more questions that they have about that. But then we are moving on to shapes. And so what you see here, you see our component tools. So what you see here is our component tools. And this is actually the lesson plan itself. But we also have a completed project. So maybe I should show you the completed project so you understand what's going on here. Let me just one second shift to shapes. And let's see, here is the completed project. This is it now. All right. Catalog completed. And we have here, not this one. Here it is. Oops. Uh-oh. That's weird. Huh. Okay, I seem to have a problem with that project, unfortunately. So let me just explain what's going on here. Okay, we'll have to do this, and the next time when you come, it's going to be resolved, and I'm going to show you that next time. But anyway, so what's happening here is that we create, this is the tool number 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th tool, it's the component tool. So what is the idea behind the components tool? You know, when engineers solve a big problem, they break down the problem into its parts. And they solve each problem separately, and then they put it back together with some logical glue. And what's happening here is that one of the ways by which we implement this whole thing is by creating something that's called components, or the basic parts of a problem. So again, one of the basic parts here in this case in shapes are all the different types of shapes that we have. And so what students are doing, they are creating these components, and then they are going and they are doing research about the characteristics of the square, for example. So for example, the way you create a component is you go here, you click on the component tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You click on it, and then you say, you write the name of it, square. And you put an image here, and I think I already showed you how to put an image, but it's exactly the same way. You can either paste the URL, or you can go to upload it from your computer. And then when you go next here, then you have the ability to add characteristics. So for example, you can say here, the square has 4 sides. So that's a characteristic. And you can add more characteristics by clicking on the add item. So the square has a 90-degree angle. Has 4 90-degree angles, actually. Uh, 90-degree angles. Or this, and so on. So you understand the idea behind adding all the characteristics. And then when I create this, and I'm not going to, you know what, maybe I should, instead of changing our template, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this, and then I can change this as much as I wish. So let me just go to the lesson plan for a minute and go here and clone it. And I'm going to just clone it. And then I can change it and show you the demo. It will take a minute. Huh. Here it is. Okay. Wow, what's going on here? I apologize, ladies. Really apologize. I don't know what's going on here. Give me just a second to report this. Okay, no choice but to show it to you there, and then let me just go to the school catalog, to the catalog again, and lesson plans, and show it to you here on the original. Okay, so anyway, we have here, as I said before, when I create a new component, then I can go in here and just cancel it after that. You understood the idea, so let me just do this really fast again. And then go next, and then the square has 4 sides. And then I am adding a new item here. So what you see here, that each characteristics has an image that you can add, has a text that you can add here, and basically a characteristic. And then, and it also has the ability to add more supporting media. So if you want to add more images or anything else that supports whatever you're saying here, you can do that. And then I can say here, the square has 4 90-degree sides, 90-degree angles, okay, and so on. So basically, let's say that these are the characteristics. I'm not going to go on anymore like this. You understood that this is how you create new characteristics. This is how you add an item. And then once you finish creating it, you just click on create. And by the way, to add an image, you just click in the middle here and paste either a URL, or you upload it from your hard drive, or you can even go to the project media in this case, you know, and you can select one of the existing images here. So we are talking about square here. So I can select this one, and there is the image that shows up here. And then once I have created it, here it is. This is my new square. And then when I click on the eye here, it opens up and it shows you the characteristics. So what's great about this is there's a few things that's great about this. One of them is the students are basically going and defining all the characteristics of all these shapes in very short sentences like this. This makes it easier for them to remember. And it also makes it easier for them to comprehend. And in addition to that, it becomes, you know, and you can add as many characteristics as you need. Once it displays more than 6 of them, you get arrows that you can scroll through all the characteristics. And the other thing that is great about this is that the other students can look through these characteristics, and they can weigh in and say, oh, you know what, I think you forgot a characteristic, let me add it. Or they can, you know, just comment on it or anything like that. So this is really a very powerful tool in that sense. Now, let me give you another thing here that will kind of, you know, support the idea that this is a powerful tool. There is research that says that one of the best ways for students to learn is to learn to a test is by actually writing up the material in flashcards, in very short flashcards. And what that forces them to do is kind of focus on the essence of things. And that's what makes it easier for their brain to remember it and to succeed in the test. So this is a proven fact because research proved it. And if you think about the component tool, it's actually doing almost the same thing like the flashcards, because it kind of forces the students to kind of focus on the essence of, oh, let me see, what are the main characteristics of the triangle, of the square, of any of these shapes, okay? And then they are writing them down, and this kind of, because of the short sentences and the way this is listed like that, it actually etches it into their brain in a way that is, you know, that you cannot achieve in other ways. So that's actually, this is what it's almost the same thing, the same effect, like writing it up into those flashcards. But in this case, they can see it all the time. They can see all those flashcards at once and scroll through them and so on. So that's the idea behind this. And let me just archive this object, because as I said before, this is our this is our template that everybody's using. Okay, so moving on from here. So as you see, we have here a component for each shape. And what the students need to do in this case is they are getting this, kind of scaffolding here that says replace this text with one characteristic of the square. And so they just go in there and they go to edit item. And when they do this, they just go next. And here they will replace it with the square has 4 sides, or the square has 90-degree angles, and so on and so forth, until they finish this. If they have too many of them, we have the trash can that can delete some of those, and that's it. And they will have the characteristics of each of these shapes. Now let me move on to calculate. Now, once they know all these characteristics in this project, now they have the calculate side. And in this case, they have our next computational thinking tool. So the components were the first one that I told you that they are like the main parts of a problem. The events are the processes or the algorithms, the how to do something. So if the components had characteristics, the events has steps. So each of this is a step in a process. So for example, this process is how to calculate the area of a regular polygon, or how to calculate the area how to calculate the perimeter of a polygon, or how to calculate the area of a triangle, and so on. So let's just go into how to calculate the area of a square. So let's just make another event here. I'm going to make now the event tool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 6th tool. When you click on it, you create a new event. And so I can say here how to calculate the area of a square, of a square. And then I'm clicking next. Again, just like the components, it also, instead of having characteristics, it has steps. So here I'm going to say, so you start the calculation of the area of a square by by basically either adding all the sides. So you can add all sides, or multiply one side by 4, whichever, you can do that, of the square. And that is a calculation. So basically, this is a very short procedure. It only has one step. But there are others like triangle, that it's the base times the height divided by 2. So there's each of them. So each step will be written in each of these. So for example, if I am here in the how to calculate the area of a triangle, then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to the edit button that opens it up for me. And then here where it says replace this step, I'm going to say that, multiply the base by the height. And then the next step will be divided by 2. So there are 2 steps here to understand how to calculate that. So you can, again, like any other, like the components, you can add images. So here we added an image of a triangle. In each of these steps, you can add images, either paste a URL or upload from the computer. Basically, that supports whatever you're saying here. So if you want to show how you multiply the base by the height, then you can show that. And in the next step, you can show how that is being divided by 2, and so on. So that's basically the how to calculate area and perimeter. Then you can use now the fact that you have components. You can use it to show hierarchical structures. So basically, what is part of what? So the polygon is like the highest hierarchy because all these belong to polygons. And then, and you can show that using the relationship tool. So I already showed you last time how you can use the relationship tool to connect objects to each other. So here is one, and here is the thickness that you select. And here is whether it ends with an arrow and a color. In this case, it's purple. And then if you want to show some relationship between this and this, you just drag it and show how they are related and so on. So you understand that this helps you, these components that you already have. And what's great about it, that you don't need to recreate those, because you have everything in what we call the content library. And I don't know if we discussed the content library last time, but I'm going to repeat this again. Everything that students create is in the content library. So these are the last additions to the content library. And basically, every component, every text, anything that you are creating is in the content library. And you can reuse them. You can drop them and reuse them again. So for example, in this case here, it says recent. Everything that you just added recently is here. And it also shows you on the side what type of project asset this is. Whether this is a component, it has like a little icon that shows that this is a component, or whether this is a text, it shows you. Now, how do you actually reuse something? So you can click on it and open it up, and then it has a little button that says copy to workspace. So let's say that I need this text box in the workspace. I'm going to drop it here, and here it is. So I just added this text box to the workspace, and now I can reuse it. I'm going to now archive it because we don't need it here, but I just wanted to show you how that is being done. So the same way as I added this text box, I can now go and, once the information here in the content library is overflowing, then it starts categorizing it by category. So here are all the text boxes, here are all the questions that we added, here are all the components. So let's say I'm going to go now and I want to keep going and doing my, my hierarchical structure of all the shapes, okay? So now I can go in there, and let's say that I want to drop in the triangle. So I'm going to go to the triangle here, and I'm going to copy to workspace. And when I do that, here it is. It just dropped it into the workspace. So I already have the triangle there. I don't need it. So I'm going to archive it now. But this is how you can use existing assets that you already created with all their characteristics. You can open their characteristics and see them. And you can also use the relationship to show what is a subset of what. So triangle is definitely a subset of polygon, pentagon, hexagon is a subset, and quadrilateral and kite and so on. So all these are subsets of the polygon. And you can keep on doing this because there are different types. Let me just show you again. Let me go back again and go to the components. And we have, we have different types of triangle. You can add to these shapes. Like, you can have the different types of triangles that will display here. And the different, and we haven't even added here the square. So there's quite a few that you can still add and continue this hierarchical structure. Moving on from here, we go to the compare and contrast. And this is where it's so great to be able to reuse the content library. What you see here is a table. On the top, you see all the categories by which all these shapes are going to be analyzed, like the sides, the angles, interior and exterior angle, perimeter, and area. And on the left side, you see all the different shapes that we have here. And here, what you see here, and you'll see in a minute, what is it that you see here? So it says, you go into the, content library. And let me just go for a second to that archived, where is it? Okay, we just archived the triangle, well, never mind. Let me just create another square here. click inside and put here another square. And the reason I'm creating another one, although we have one, is because this is the source and I don't want to mess up with the source. So the square has 4 sides. And then let's add here the square has 4 90-degree. And I'm going to just create this component. And now I will go in there into the content library. And here it is. Now, let me just remove this for a second from here. Let me remove, archive this. And let me go into the content library and go to the archive. Let's see, it's there. Yeah. Now I know that I'm probably confusing you here because, again, because of the problem we are having to clone, I don't want to mess up with the original. So that's why I'm creating these duplicate components. And in order to show you, it usually is not going to sit in the archive. It's going to sit under components. But again, because of the problem we are having, I have to put, I have to put it here. Now it has here, when you open the components, let me just go in there. When you open this component, the square component, it has all its items listed underneath. So I can now go inside and click on the 3 dots next to the square has 4 sides. And I can say copy to workspace. And here it is. So the square has 4 sides. It just created for me that. And now here under square, I can put it here. I can drop it here. So I don't need to rewrite this. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't need to rewrite. I can use whatever I create. So, in normal cases, when we have no problems like we had this morning, usually what you do, you go to the components and you go to the square and you open up and you click on it, but because it says here, replace this with the characteristic, it's not going to really show you what I mean by putting here its characteristics and dropping it in this table. That's why I'm using the one that we put in the archive. So you understand that in normal cases, you just go there, you drop its characteristics, and you put it exactly in the right place in the table. So you can even color this. You can color code it, with some color. Let's say that all the squares are going to be blue or whatever you want it to be. And then the angles, you can do the same thing, drop the characteristic that talks about the angle. In this case, again, I will go to the archive just for today, as I said before, and go here to the square and go to where it says 90 degrees and drop it to the workspace and then put it in here under angles. And because we said that all the squares are blue, I can even change the color to blue. So there you go. There you understand. So what's great about it, that you can reuse information that students already have created in the components and basically show the differences. Just build a whole table and the students can see the differences between the different shapes, as far as sides are concerned, angles, interior angles, perimeter, and so on and so forth. So you understand, I'm going to now archive this, as I said before. This is our original, the one that everybody's cloning, so I don't want to mess it up. But I just wanted you to see what's happening, how to do this. Now, when we go to profile here, this is where, I just wanted the students to feel as if they are building a social media profile for a shape. So what you have here is the name of that shape and an image of it. And then it says personal information, as if, they have to write up personal information here. So provide information and images from what you already gathered in components about its characteristics. So you can show here, you know, all kinds of images that are showing how the hexagon has 6 sides, and you know, and other images of it, and so different things. And you can also show again, you can drop again those characteristics of the hexagon. You can drop them here one under the other. So basically, this is kind of the personal information that you provide about the hexagon. And then it says my family, and here it says provide information and images about the different types of hexagons, such as regular, concave, convex, hexagon, members of the family. So this is kind of, you know, the members would be the concave, the convex, and so on. All these would be the members of the family of the hexagon. And then social behavior, provide information and images about its ability to tessellate. So there's an ability to tessellate with hexagons, of course. And so, you know, this is kind of like their social behavior. And then calculations, you can, you know, show how you calculate the different things like area and perimeter, and groups and associations, and here images about its hierarchy. So what does it belong, what type of other shapes it belongs to, how this whole hierarchy working with the hexagon. So that's the idea behind this project. So you have seen so far both our advanced tools. You have seen the components tool, how to work with the components tool, and you have also seen how to work with the events tool. But this is not the whole thing. And let me just go back for a minute to that same project that I wanted to show you in the beginning, because that is kind of going to give you a different perspective of a different perspective of the events tool. So the events tool, in addition to being something that describes a process, it is also something that you can use as a timeline. So in a social studies or history project, you can actually use it as a timeline. Now, in this case, this is the history of my city. And what you see here, you see an event tool that says the history of my city, a timeline. And what you see here, each of this is a milestone in the history of the city. So now let me just open it for a minute and edit item here. And here, when I'm going to next. Now, as you see, I have here, it says replace this with this text with a milestone in the history of the city. So milestone would be, you know, the first immigrants came in this year or whatever. But what Project Pulse allows you to do is allows you to actually add a year. So in this case, it says date here. So you replace the word date, you replace it with, you know, a year, whatever the history of your city is. So you type here a year, and then you also have the ability to add a next to it, to mark it on a Google map. So because this is an actual history of a specific city, you can actually go into here, click on this. Oops, not this. Click on this. And then let's say that I am selecting Delhi, India. And it found it for me. And then I just have to click on save. And it puts it there. It puts the coordinates of that place. And then you can keep doing this for each of the steps. And it doesn't have to be just necessarily a big city. It can be a location in the city that you want to, you know, kind of point out or something like that, because it's using Google Maps. And then you are pressing save. And you can then display, and let me tell, and you can then display, and what's great about this is that this is the default here. You see the default, these are all the steps. And when you add more steps, you can keep going like this. But what's really great about it is that it has different ways to show it. So this shows the steps, but then you can also show it in a gallery mode. In a gallery mode, you see the image big. So in this case, there is no image, just an image placeholder. So you'll not be able to see it. But when you have images here, in a minute, I'll show you one that has images. Then you will see the images big and the text underneath small. And finally, you can see it also mapped on a Google map. So in this case, we just put 2 locations, So I'm going to click here, and you'll see that location number 1 was here, which is Delhi, and then location number 2 was in the United States. And you see exactly the image, and you see the description here of what happened in these locations. So this is a very, very powerful tool. Let me just show you one that has everything in it, a completed project that has everything in it. And so, for example, a project that has it all. Let me just see, maybe we have here something that no. Okay, so I'm going to take a project from here from science and show you an example of that. So here what we have here is it's showing how the Amazon Fulfillment Center works. And in addition to that, we also added the dates that I was talking to you about. Now, when you want to, and it has more than 4 steps, so you can scroll through the steps like this back and forth. And you can also display the images. You go to gallery mode and you click on it, so you see the images big, and you see that each step has its own text underneath. So you can show the students can show exactly what was going on here. And then finally, you can also go and show it in a map view. So here, all those places are marked in a map. And you can then go and start opening them up and see exactly the images and what happened in each location. So that's the events tool. Okay, now let me just go to something that might interest you, that you guys said that is more interesting to you. And let me, you mentioned the Design a Garden project. Oops. Okay. So what is going on this morning? I never know what our development team is doing. Oh, here it is, Design a Garden, project post catalog. So here it is. Okay, so this is the Design a Garden project. And what we have here, basically, we have the question tool. We already discussed how to do questions and how to come up with questions. We discussed the images, how to work on images. We also have here, so it starts with, basically the different types of plants that are available, and plant parts. And this is where we start with plant parts, roots, stems, leaves, so on and so forth. And moving on from here, we have basically a plant life cycle. And again, we don't yet support tables. So because we don't support tables, what I usually do is, when I need a table, like in this case, is I'm creating it in Google Doc, and I'm importing it as an image into project files, and then I'm placing text boxes on top. So right now, that's how I'm solving that problem. Tables are coming, I can guarantee you. But right now, this is what the situation is. And so in this case, that's what's happening here. And then this is where we move on to understanding, how to basically design that garden in terms of calculating the area. And in this case, the calculation is based on actually dividing the entire area into little squares, and then calculating sub shapes like this, subsets of the shapes, and calculating what area this is. So there's a whole explanation how to calculate composite figures. and even the formulas and everything. And then it gives the students a few exercises to calculate these areas. This is a preparation for them to calculate the area of their garden. And then moving on from here, we are going to the garden type. And here they will actually have to decide whether the place where they live, whether there is frost there, and whether they have to take that into consideration. And so they will then open, and this is one of the things that I did not show you before, that you can actually go to a Google file, to any G Suite file, and import it into Project Pals. I don't know if your students, which are grades 2 to 4, will do that. But if you want to attempt it, I will be happy to show it to you. So basically you go into Google, so any file in Google, let me just go to here and go to projects, to my Google Drive, just for you to know how to do this. And let me go to projects here. Projects. And let's say that you need, I don't know. Here I have all kinds of spreadsheets. Let's say that you need any of these spreadsheets here. And you want to move this into Project Pals. What you have to do is go to share in Google, go to here it says anyone on the internet. You need to make sure that anyone on the internet with this link can view the project. And then you click on copy link. And then once you have that copy link, you go back to Project Pals. And you go into the media section. And you go to the plus button and insert URL, you paste it here. Paste that URL in here. And I'm not going to paste it because this file doesn't relate to this project, but I just wanted to show you how. And then it looks like this. Then it shows up like this, like a regular Google Sheet that you can then click on and you can place on the workspace. Yes, just place on the workspace. And when you do that, then it shows up like this. And then you double click on it and it opens up in a new tab and you see exactly that table. Students can type into it and type up the information. I mean, I think I consider this to be a little bit more advanced, like something like 5th grade through 12th grade maybe. But if you are daring to do that, by all means. If not, then just skip this part or replace it with something else. And then plants. This is where we come back to those components that I was talking about. So the students need to decide what types of plants they're going to put in this garden. And so they will then go and, instead of saying plant name, and let me just edit one of these, they will say the name of the plant here. And then they will put an image of the plant here and we'll move next. And here they will replace this with the scientific name of the plant. And it tells them replace this with the plant type, annual, and replace this with the plant spacing needs. So it's basically telling them what to put in here in all these. And that will give them kind of like a rundown of all the plants that they will plant in their garden. So here is a very great use of the component tool that I just introduced to you. And then here, this is where they start the design of the garden. And so again, as I said before, we don't have those tables, but I created this in Google Drawing. I created this whole grid. And the grid is actually where they will start planning their garden. And so here, what I'm using is images of those plants, like say, I'm going to plant tomatoes here, and I'm going to plant another plant here, or whatever they decide to plant in these places. And then they can also calculate the area of their garden. So if they are not planting here, they are only planting here and here, they will have to kind of calculate what area this is. And it has here a description of how to do the calculation and how to populate it with the plants and so on. So they have two options to design the garden, option number 1 and option number 2. And then finally, they will come up with the last, the final version. If you decide that it's too much, you just leave this, that's fine. You can delete this last tab if it's not necessary. So this is one way to focus on the, as I said before, to focus on the Design the Garden project. Another project that you guys expressed an interest in and I think that that's a little bit easier to do, and that is the animal adaptation. And this is starting basically with a video that they can listen to. And again, when you double click on a video, then you can start playing it like this. And the students can listen to. And then they will have to come up with the understanding of what is a physical and behavioral adaptation. There is even here a file. And in this file, they can actually basically create exactly the same table that is there. They can actually add to it and type up their own adaptations of different animals. And this is the same table that I put in here. Then moving on from here, create animal. This is where they will choose an animal adaptation. And they will come up. They are going to work with a partner and select 3 physical and behavioral animal adaptation from the list and basically describe them here. And then come up with their own animal. This is very creative because they will have to come up with their own animal and draw it. And basically come up with a habitat for the animal with different adaptations and with the environment, the fitting environment for that. And then moving on from here, they will also have to start to understand different biomes. And it has nothing to do with that previous tab. It's just basically understanding, a biome, one specific biome, and they will have to choose one. And then they will have to go and pick 3 animals that can survive in this biome. And each team member can work on that animal. So that's the reason why you have 3 of these tabs, is because, this is one animal that one of the team members will basically focus on, and they will describe where they live, where they, the dependence, the adaptation, what they eat, the threat, and so on. So all these things they will have to describe. And then another team member will do exactly the same for a different animal that fits this biome that we actually described first. So I hope that you understand how this project works. And I think that I covered all the tools. I covered all the tools that we have in a project. And is there any other project that you guys would like to focus on that you want me to cover right now?
Payal ma'am, you were mentioning one project you want to.
Ma'am, I think animal adaptation is good for class 2.
Okay, class 3. Which one were you looking at, Meenal ma'am? You're on mute. Yeah, you're on mute.
I'm looking at that garden and also the animals. There is one more project related to animals.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let me just go there. So Animal Nation?
Animal Nation.
Animal Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is also, it's not too difficult, really. It has a lot of guiding questions. Students also have to come up with their own questions about their animal. They will have to tell us first here how they did the research. What did they do? And this is where they describe it step by step what they did in order to come up with the answers, and also replace the images with their own images here. And then once they have an animal and they decided to zero in on one, then they will go in here and replace this, the word animal here, with the name of their real animal. So who is whatever, the elephant. And then they will start, they have a few guiding questions here. They will start describing the look of the animal, where they live, what they eat, what is the habitat, how unique they are. And there's continuation to this, you know, what they depend on, the threats, the noises, etc. And you can add more and so on. Really an easy project.
So this is quite an easy one.
Yes.
This is, and Vibhuti ma'am, which one are you looking at for grade 4?
Ma'am, everybody on the move.
Everybody on the move.
Okay. Let me just go there.
Yeah. This is a nice one. I really liked this project.
It really is. So, so basically they have to design either a physical activity or a game or anything like that, that increasing physical activity. Basically, let's see if there's anything here. Units of measurement and so on. So what types, they are acquainted with the different types of measurements, and checking their own stride, doing some experiment with that. This is cool. This is a very cool project. And then measuring my activities. And again, as I said before, it again has a Google Sheet file that the students are able to record their body movement. Now, this is, as I said again, this is my Google Drive. So the students cannot use this. They can only use this for an example, you know, to see how to build their own table. They need to create exactly the same thing in their own Google Drive and then import it into the project. So I just want to make sure that, and it says that you need to copy this file to your Google Drive.
To your Google Drive.
And then, here, plan my activity change, and my daily activity, team member 1, and then team member 2. So basically, each team member has their own daily activity recording here, and also do some brainstorming about what they want to create here. And then they will start doing the research here. This is where what do I know about whatever my plan, my activity plan is? What do I need to know? And what do I want to know? Oops, just discovered this. Oh no, what do I know? Sorry. What do I want to know? And then what have I learned? So all these things are here. And then my product. So this again, as I said before, team members, each team member picks one of these tabs, my product 1, my product 2, my product 3, and they come up with the game, the rules, the impact, and so on. So yes, as I said, this belongs to, and they can even send a survey to other classmates or anything like that. So this is a Google survey. Again, if you want to use it, you need to copy it to your own Google Drive. And this survey needs to be sent to other people to see if they like my game idea or my whatever physical.
So how do they, sorry to interrupt, how do they copy this on their drive?
Okay, so there is a problem right now because you cannot really copy. If you're opening it, it doesn't allow you to copy this to their, because this is, this is mine. Until we support, we are going to support this in our application, the ability to open their own Google Drive in Project Pause. Until then, this is not really, you cannot just go there and file copy.
Okay, so but they can replicate their questions, make a new Google
exactly
form, and then put it back on Project Pal.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's that. And this is basically the outcome chart from the survey.
From the survey.
Yeah, so that's how this
Does
is done.
anyone have any questions with any of the tools, the event tool or the component tool, relationship analysis? I mean, I will share the how-to videos also with them so that they can watch it and all of that. But does anyone have any doubts right now?
Sana
No?
ma'am, I
Okay.
think we'll work on it and then
Yeah, we'll work on it. Yeah, we'll
will
practice
help
it for the next few days and
Yes.
before our next session.
Yes.
If you have any doubts, then we can collate that.
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe the last thing that I want to show, once your students are finished and they want to show what they did to the class, they can then go to one of these finished projects, like for example, what was it? No. Second. You know what? Go in there. Okay, so they can go to something like this, which is a finished project. They just finished the project and they can go on the bottom. There are tools. And one of them is the arrow tool that allows you to kind of select multiple objects together and move them at the same time. And then when they finished, they have the presentation mode. They can click the next button next to the arrow is the presentation mode. And that turns the entire workspace into kind of like a PowerPoint. And then they can move on with the arrows on the top left corner from tab to tab and explain what they did to the class. So that's how you do this. And I just wanted you to be aware of, there's another thing that I wanted you to be aware of, is that you can also do comments. Students can comment on each other's work and provide feedback. So for example, if I am here in this class and I'm going into this project, the brainstorming template, what is going on today? I apologize, really, sincerely apologize. I have these curveballs sometimes, with my development team, but they are adding a new feature or something. And that's what they are, they are basically ruining something else that while doing the change.
That's okay.
Yeah, I really apologize.
That's all right.
And so let me just, where can I do this? Is this going to be okay? Yeah. Okay, so for example, if each object has the commenting tool, so you can comment, this is great, and then press the comment, and then you see a little number here showing up that says that there is a comment was provided, and the students can reply to the comment. So they can comment on each other's work and you can comment on their work. So just wanted you to see that. And then the show history, and the show history basically tells you, the teacher, and I don't know, you know what, we're going to cover the analytics next time together with the project management, because we are out of time right now. So we are going to cover that. And again, I apologize. I'm going to, this is going to be fixed by our next session. And sorry again.
No problem. That's not a problem.
Okay. Did you have a chance to check the speed? So,
Yeah, I did. It is much faster than when we worked on it previously. I worked on it today. I was checking out all of these projects.
okay, cool.
So yes, it is much faster.
Okay, cool. All right, perfect. So,
all right. So I will email you, Miriam, regarding the next training for Saturday. I'll speak with the teachers and
Okay.
I'll do an email, and also for our meeting on Friday.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you,
Okay,
teachers.
bye.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.